So before sunup, I was outside just poking around to get a last glimpse of our neighborhood here in Bucharest. We'll be coming back here at the end of our tour. But after a few days walking and touring around this amazing city, it was time to travel into the hinterland. I joined an organized tour group here that will spend about the next 9 days together touring around Romania, particularly in the fabled land of Transylvania. It was an early morning start on the bus, and Christina, our tour director, gave us the day's agenda.
We have the entire morning driving ahead of us. We have stops, of course, scheduled every, let's say, 1 hour and 30 minutes, 2 hour stops. Our stop will be around 11:30 at Cozia Monastery, and we will be there for about, let's say, 40 minutes. And we visit this monastery that goes back to the end of the 1300s. And then we cross the Carpathian Mountains and we step into Transylvania. And our first stop will be Sibiu. In Sibiu will be around 1:30. So the first thing that we'll do, we'll have a break for lunch. Today lunch is going to be a bit later than normal, but there will be plenty of opportunities for you to choose from in Sibiu. And ladies and gentlemen, I have snacks that I have prepared for you so you do not starve to death until we reach Sibiu. And then after we have our lunch break, we just continue, we meet the local guide, and we have this walking tour of Sibiu that will be about 2 hours long. While we are in downtown Sibiu, I will send a bus to the hotel to unload the luggage, and the luggage will be expecting you in your room. Everything that is in the lower part of the bus, okay? And then around 5:30 we should be at the hotel. Hopefully luggage will be expecting you in your room. This is a very beautiful building. It's called, it's a restaurant on the right hand side. It was the one being restored. It was a restaurant dedicated to the high officers of the Romanian army. The National Military Circle, it was called. And this beautiful avenue in here, called Elisabeta Avenue, following the name of our first queen, Queen Elizabeth. So 5:30 we should be at the hotel. You have time to check in, and around, let's say, 6:30 we meet again in the hotel lobby, and we drive back to Sibiu to dinner in one of the local restaurants. The hotel in Sibiu is not located centrally. It's located in a very nice natural area just outside Sibiu. Very easy to reach the center of Sibiu from the hotel by public transport or by taxi, but still not within walking distance. So on the left hand side we have City Hall of Bucharest. On the right hand side we have this Central Park, which is called Sibiu, which is one of the very beautiful parks of Bucharest. It's a Sunday morning, so it's very nice and easy. I always like to have tours around this time of the day with no cars around, no traffic, no people. And I always enjoy waking up early in the morning and just going for a walk before people start coming out, you know. That's the most pleasant day of the moment of the day. For the parliament, yesterday, Ceausescu erased almost 1/3 of the entire central part of Bucharest to make room for all the buildings that are connected to the project, because it was supposed to become the epicenter of Romanian political and social life. So all important institutions of the state were supposed to have their headquarters around the big building that we visited yesterday. So the two unfinished buildings that you saw on the right hand side were supposed to become the headquarters of the Romanian radio station. There was only one radio station available during communist times, of course. One television station, one radio station, and all the other ones, of course, were illegal to listen to. People were listening to different types of radio stations from abroad, but of course it was illegal to do so. So the official radio station was supposed to become, to have the head office in there, but of course in 1984 they started to build. In 1989 the regime came to an end, so the buildings were left unfinished. Especially because there was no more radio station, central and unique radio station of Romania after 1989, after the communist regime. On the right hand side we have the botanical garden, and on the left hand side this area, which is surrounded by this fence, white fence, is actually the Cotroceni Palace, which is a former royal palace of Romania, and today it's the head office of the Romanian president.
As we left the city center, Christina pointed out the monolithic apartment complexes left over from the communist era.
The communist authorities were investing into building a lot of industry, and of course for those factories that they were building in cities, they needed accommodation, and they decided, of course, to have accommodation with in this shape of these apartment buildings that are not a Romanian invention. They are a very common sight in all former communist cities. And the central part of Bucharest more or less escaped this type of redesigning and reshaping in terms of architecture, but not the outside of Bucharest. As the city grew larger and larger, this is what it looked like, and now you get the chance to see more of these areas that were designated for the workers in communist times. Fortunately for Romania, you will notice in every major city, in Brașov, in Sibiu, in Bucharest, so all other cities that we will visit, the central part, which is the historical part, more or less survived, and the communists decided to build this type of architecture outside the central part. So at the moment these apartment buildings are part of the huge communist architecture and heritage that we have, and they are still functional, so they still are typical housing facilities for typical Romanian families. Back in the days, they were given to you by the state, because everything, there was no such thing as private property back then, up until 1989. So as soon as you graduated, whatever type of education you had, they would assign you to a job. There were no unemployed people back then in Romania, and then of course, the job that you were assigned to may have been at the other end of the country, and you had absolutely no say in your assignment. And also, as soon as you reached the factory that you had been assigned to, they would assign you to an apartment. Because you were young and not married, first it was a one-room apartment. When you got married, you applied to be moved to a two-room apartment when you had your first child.
And then we reached the far suburbs of Bucharest, where you have the typical far suburban things like shopping malls, car washes, car dealerships, and supermarkets. And only about 10 miles from the Bucharest city center, we were officially in the countryside. And a little later, heading northbound in the direction of the southern Carpathian Mountains. Looking forward to that. You know, on any road trip far from home, the simple and ordinary things can still be fun and interesting. At the rest stops and gas stations, I like to check out the products that they have for sale and the food that they're serving up. And also just poke around to have a look at the surrounding countryside. Romanian made cars are built here made here in Pitești. In the 1960s, Romania started to manufacture cars under the supervision of the French brand Renault, and they named the Romanian cars Dacias, as we were discussing earlier. During the communist times, that was the only car available for people, and because there was only one plant, people had the money, but they needed to wait for years, to get their car. This is why we didn't have very many cars back then. As we headed north, out of the town of Pitești, we got our first views of the foothills of the southern Carpathian Mountains. A beautiful sight because we knew there was more awesome scenery to come.
So remember I was telling you about the mitch, the grilled sausages, actually skinless sausages. This is one of those places where people stop for a quick meat. Look at them, like grilled right there. Yes, everybody sells them. So on the way to Transylvania, you stop here for one mick. Mick is singular, mitch is the plural. It will be translated as the little ones. This is what mitch means in Romanian, the little ones, because they are little or small sausages.
Nu e de vizitat să pleci dincolo, să te duci la aport așa.
Well, it was time for a stop with a bit more substance than the previous gas station. Cozia Monastery, built in 1388, is one of the most valuable monuments of national medieval art and architecture in Romania. The fortified monastery sits at the bank of the Olt River in a setting of great natural beauty. The terrain became more rugged as we followed the Olt River northward, deep into the Carpathian Mountains. We reached Sibiu about 1 p.m. and had some free time to roam the town until later this afternoon, when we would be led on a tour of the historical old town by a local guide. So, rather than sit down at a restaurant and relax and eat, I elected to walk and film the town so that I could produce a town walk video for you. And here it is. So join me over there now as we explore this medieval gem of a Transylvanian town called Sibiu.